What's up, hockey fans? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Morning Cup of Hockey alongside Colby Cohen. I'm Jonny Lazarus. We are presented by Betway. If you're going to place a bet on Betway. Please play responsibly. And remember, you must be 19 years of age or older. Last night in the NHL, the Islanders get a favor yet again. Now they're 1 point back in the playoff race. We're going to talk about the Eastern Conference again. We're going to talk about probably not as much in the West. The Kings play tonight. It's a big game against Seattle, but we'll probably keep it more geared toward the Eastern Conference with that race because there are 4 teams involved. Then we'll talk about Jarmo Kekalainen. He had an article come out yesterday about him possibly getting another GM job. I don't know how long we're going to spend on that one today, but then we got Jackie Redmond from NHL and TNT and the WWE, good friend of ours, joining the show around 9:30, and we'll get into the games tonight. So a lot to get into today, but before any of that, I got to ask you, as always, Colby, how's your morning going, pal?
You're getting lazy with my name pronunciation again. You just did it twice in the first minute and a half of the show.
The second one could have been lazier. The first one was pretty good, though.
Let's reel it in and let's try to start the show by saying my name properly. I think we're
doing this bit again.
That would be a good start. It's not a bit. I'm the guy who you literally talk to for 1 hour a day and then incessantly text for the rest of the day. So it would be nice for you to just pronounce my name right. Anyways, I did get a chance to watch a lot of hockey last night. And I saw some of the banter on social media. There were people on there. They're really trying to bait me a little last night.
Oh yeah.
Especially in regards to the Islanders. So it was an interesting night. I think not many people helped themselves last night. Obviously, the Islanders get 2 points, but not the most inspiring night of hockey in the Eastern Conference, making a really good case for why we do not need more teams in the playoffs.
I'll say the Penguins' effort, their comeback was somewhat inspiring. They low-key have points in 6 straight games. Should we just get right into our Parasso playoff preview?
Have at it, bud.
All right, so let's get into it right now. The Parasso playoff preview presented by Parasso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care. Made in Italy since 1948, Parasso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Parasso-USA.com with promo code Hockey15. That's Parasso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 for 15% off. But the Penguins have quietly now had points in 6 straight games, and they're just 3 points back of the Washington Capitals, who I believe they play against tomorrow night. So they're not done yet really either. I mean, the Penguins can creep up to 1 point back of Washington and Detroit, while the Islanders, again, are 1 point back right now. So this race, we've been saying it for a couple of weeks that these teams are pretty much done, but everyone is just getting handed favors left and right. No one wants to take over the second spot.
Which just proves my point. It's like it's just a shitload of average hockey going on right now. You've got the Flyers who are like, I don't know the exact breakdown, but they've basically lost 8 of their last 9 games within their division. I mean, imagine them making the playoffs after doing that. I mean, it shows you how important wins in the beginning of the season are. It shows you how much more likely you are to make the playoffs, even when you have a bad second half, as long as you put yourself in a good spot by American Thanksgiving, like we always say. But it's pretty dreadful right now. I mean, I'm watching that Washington Capital game and it's just spiraling. And I'm like, where's the inspired hockey? You have such an opportunity to step up here and really grab foothold of that spot, and just not able to get it done against Buffalo. And you're kind of seeing that in a lot of these games. I actually thought Butch Goring made a good point last night on the Islander broadcast, and he was talking basically about how different it is this time of year for a team like the Chicago Blackhawks, for example. They're playing with house money. I've been saying that on this show for weeks now, but you're playing free. You're just basically out there let's just go out and have fun. There's zero pressure, zero. Okay. You have nothing at all to be concerned about. And so you're seeing some of these teams like the Blackhawks and Columbus and Montreal, like they're reeling off wins against good teams in the league that need wins. And you're like, how is this happening? Well, average teams are playing tight because they can smell the playoffs, right? And if you make the playoffs, you can salvage that average season. And then the bad teams are like, yeah, we're just going to go out there and have some fun and give some effort and see how it works out. And it's just bad. I mean, the Devils last night, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what on earth is happening in New Jersey? They've got a clean house.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see how they survive this. Like, even Fitzy, I mean, who I like.
Well, they had a lot of injuries this year, which like really spiraled their season.
I get it, but those are all just excuses. They never got a goalie. They waited to get the goalie. Sure, they've shown some life since they got Jake Allen, but like, you got to look at the overall body of work. Like, how many coaching hires do you get? You know, how many opportunities do you get to get a goal? It just, to me, it's really bad what's happened in New Jersey. I mean, at least the Islanders are showing a little bit of fight. I mean, again, like, it was an ugly game. It was not an inspiring game for the Islanders. I probably watched half of that game, but there was just like, they were down most of the game to Chicago, and you're watching that and you're just like,
but they were the better team. They were playing better than Chicago.
Sure, they're playing better, but you're playing against the Chicago Blackhawks. Like, where's the inspiration? You know, it's just it's been ugly.
Matt Martin had a solid scrap in the first period. You know, he showed a little bit of balls there. Yeah,
and I mean, look, Matt Martin's a heck of a better fighter than Jared Tenorti. Like, Jared Tenorti's plays with a lot of courage, but he's not a great fighter. So,
well, to that point, like you were talking about the teams that play with house money, the Islanders do play in Columbus tomorrow night. So that's something to keep an eye on too, because you have Washington and Pittsburgh going at it. If Pittsburgh can find a way to win that game, they would, have 81 points. The Islanders find a way to win, they would jump Washington. There's a lot of things that can really shape up tomorrow. Tonight's games, there aren't as many playoff implications. I know you do have Tampa versus Toronto, but we'll talk about tonight's games a little bit later. But back to just the playoff stuff. Now, are we really considering Pittsburgh getting that second spot? Like, if you can talk about Detroit, Washington, the Islanders, Philly, and Pittsburgh now, I think out of all five of those teams, now you'd want to see Crosby back in the playoffs, right? Like, I think if you're picking between those five,
you always want Sidney Crosby.
Always.
I mean, that's just, you look at what he's done this year. What's he up to? Almost 40 goals. I saw he's a couple off of 40, maybe. I saw Butchergross tweeted something about that, but put the standings up really quickly.
It has 39 goals, 45 assists, 84 points in 75 games.
Let me ask you a question right now. Okay. We know Boston, Florida, Toronto, New York, and Carolina are in the playoffs. We know Tampa's in the playoffs. Okay. Who's gonna end up, Johnny, in that third spot in the Metro and in the second wild card spot? If you had to bet right now, who are you putting in?
Third spot in the Met. I might say, I don't know. I think the Islanders.
Really?
I think the Islanders.
Is that just you? Is that just you shilling for the Islanders, or do you actually think that?
I just don't trust the Capitals or the
Flyers.
Such
a self-hating Rangers fan. It's so bizarre.
I watch the Islanders more out of the three of them. That's the team I watch the most. But I also would have to look at the schedule too. I'm big at looking at the schedule and who they play. I know the Islanders have 2 games against the Rangers here in the next few days. Let me just take a look. But the Washington Flyers game is the last game of the year. That's going to be unreal.
I mean, it might have implications or it might not. I mean, Washington's lost 4 in a row now.
They've been struggling, but the Islanders have Columbus, Nashville, Rangers, Canadians, Rangers, Devils. So the Nashville game could be a tough one, but they're home for that at least. The
Yeah,
two
but
games
you
against the Rangers
also
won't be easy, but then Montreal and New Jersey, like those games are winnable
but
games
you
for
just
sure.
don't know. You don't know where teams are at right now, like mentally. Teams are, especially some of the teams that are out of it. Some guys are a little checked out.
Mhm.
The New Jersey Devils play. Those kids could be planning their trips to Cabo already. I mean, seriously, like
Yeah.
that's how they're playing at least. So
But
I
now
don't
let
know.
me
I
into the
mean,
Capitals though. I want to give you all the schedules for those teams. The Capitals are the Penguins, the Hurricanes, Senators, Red Wings, Sabres, Lightning. So the Caps have a pretty tough go here. They got the Hurricanes, the Red Wings, which should be a playoff game, and the Lightning is going to be a tough one too. And I think they play the
yeah,
Flyers.
but you never know who the Lightning are going to
And
dress.
the Bruins and Flyers, and the Bruins and Flyers.
You just don't know who teams are going to dress. Like you may, like last game or two, if you're the Lightning and you're locked into wild card one, you may give Vasi a rest. You may give Stamkos a night off. Like, so you don't really know, and you can't really predict a week out, because if teams are set into their spots, it wouldn't be crazy to think that they're going to, get some of their depth guys in, give them a little action before they might sit for a while in the playoffs, give some of the guys who carry big minutes a night off. So it's really difficult to tell. And I think Nick Alberga tweeted something yesterday that I thought was interesting about how it's really hard to bet hockey the last 2 weeks of the season, because just wacky shit is happening everywhere. I think the Washington Capitals are probably a victim of their run of like playing with house money. Nothing to lose. Ovi got hot. Their power play was really moving the puck well. Ovi's like getting open, and that bumper with TJ Oshie. It's like when Oshie's healthy and in the bumper, it gives the Washington Capitals another lethal threat in the middle of their power play. And I think that always gives Ovi a little bit more time to find different spots. So, but now you just look at them and it's been ugly. I mean, I saw Jeremiah on social media last night just like losing his mind about the Islanders, like absolutely not the Islanders, about the Capitals.
Caps. Yeah.
Losing his damn mind. And for
Vic's
good
fault.
reason.
Vic's fault.
For good reason. Why? Because Vic picked them last night?
Yeah, it was all Vic's fault. Me and Jeremiah had to get back and forth about that. But the last thing I want to ask you about before we move on to our next topic, is there actual concern now for the Florida Panthers? They've lost 8 of their last 10. Did they peak too early in March?
100%. I don't see how you can watch them and not think there's real concern. Seriously. I mean, look, the way it's going for them, the Leafs have 2 games in hand. The Leafs could conceivably be tied with them if they win those 2 games in hand, right?
You sound like me.
What?
You sound like me. You're just
but the difference is I'm talking about a good team that's been a playoff team all year. When you give wins to teams that are basically below 500 with their loser point, I have a hard time with that argument. What makes you think a team that's basically playing 450 winning percentage hockey is going to go out and win all their games in hand? Well, the Toronto Maple Leafs, I mean, they've been a good team. They've played well, especially as of late. Morgan Riley's coming back into their lineup, and that's a huge boost for them. So that could conceivably happen. I think the Florida Panthers are in real trouble. I mean, they look tired. They look slow. I mean, it almost looks like a completely different team than we've seen almost the entire season. So you also have to wonder too, like, are the Leafs better off starting on the road in the playoffs? I would maybe say they are, just because of the hype in Toronto and the pressure that market puts on those guys. I don't know. Like, I think they may be better off starting on the road.
That first round last year, I'm trying to think, I think they won all 3 games on the road. They won all 3 in Tampa. I think all 3 were in overtime, if I'm correct too. Pretty sure.
And
I might need a Leaf.
Here's the thing.
Correct me there if I'm wrong, but
they probably could have as many Maple Leaf fans in Florida if they play the Panthers, which it obviously looks like will happen. There's probably as many Maple Leaf fans in that building on night one if it's in Florida as there is Panthers fans. I mean, that building is full of transplants every year.
Yeah, and there's no way at this point that Tampa's catching either of those two. I mean, they're 6 points back. I don't see Tampa getting out of a wild card spot at this point.
No, and I honestly feel like Tampa's the kind of team that doesn't care who they play. I don't think they're worried about their matchup. That's just the energy that they give off and the way that they play. Like, they match up well against anybody.
But now I'm sure that affects Boston and the Rangers battling for first. Even Carolina, you can keep in the mix there too, because I'm sure all three teams would prefer to win out and avoid Tampa if possible, right? Like, if you drop to second overall in the Eastern Conference, you're playing Tampa in the first round. That's a pretty fucking tough draw in the first round. So for all the people that are like, don't get first place, don't go for the President's Trophy, all those fans, if you're asking me, win every game, avoid Tampa in the first round if you're in the Eastern Conference. I don't know if you think anything different about that, but
of course, because that second wild card team is a team that's going to limp in again.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're going to be over 500 because of the loser point, but basically under 500. Like, if you really want to call it like it is, like, you look at the teams in the bottom of those standings, they're under 500. They really are, I mean, so we have a couple of comments in the chat. Seems like we have a couple of new people in the chat today.
Yeah.
Some names that I don't necessarily recognize. And, Buster TN said, Florida looks like Vegas did at midseason when the wear and tear and the length of last year's playoffs finally hit them. I mean, I think that that's probably fair. I think they do look tired. But it's funny because you bring up Vegas, like, Vegas is trending the complete other way. Like, Vegas has looked basically since they were great to start the season. And then they basically were kind of just meh for 3 quarters. And then the last couple of weeks, like,
they shit kicked Vancouver last night.
Hanifin scored last night. Mantha scored last night. Eichel's creeping up on 30. Pietrangelo was all over the ice last night. Like, that's a team that looks like they're figuring it out. And then they're going to get hurt. They're going to get Hurdle soon because he's practicing and he's skating. That's a dangerous team heading into the playoffs right now with all those additions that seemingly are getting comfortable right now, Johnny. Talk about such a difference in the bottom, really, of that conference versus the bottom of the Eastern Conference this year. And how much that's really flip-flopped all season.
Also, Dragonfly Jones 93, what a name, in the chat said Florida seemed a lot hungrier at this time last season than this year. But also, like, people forget Florida got into the playoffs last year on the last day of the year. They were still fighting for their playoff lives at this point. So maybe, like, you can make the argument that the foot has come off the gas a little bit because they've secured their playoff spot, but you can't really compare this group in Florida to the team last year because it's just a completely different situation, right? Like, that's fair to say.
Yeah, it's no two situations are actually alike, but I just saw an interesting comment here in the chat as well about Colorado, the year that they won the Cup, from Todd. He said when they won the Cup in 22,
1-7.
They went 1-6 in their last 7 games. So I didn't remember that. So that's a good point. But again, I just, you just worry about the way Florida's playing. Like, you don't like limping in, right? You want to be feeling good about your game. You do get a little bit of a reset and you do get a little bit of an opportunity because you're playing the same team so many times over. But, ultimately it's not ideal to be limping in. I think confidence is finicky with high level athletes. And so you don't want to go in there with that taste in your mouth of like not feeling your best. Your legs don't feel good. Your hands don't feel good. You're not getting bounces. You're feeling like you're fighting it. That can hurt you when you're playing the game of hockey, especially like in your subconscious. Like it really can.
Yeah, and I see a lot of comments in the chat too about Matt Rempe tonight against the Devils. We'll save that for when Jackie Redmond comes on because she's actually.
No, let's get into that. I want to talk about that. Yeah, I want to talk about Rempe. Like I
wanted to ask Jackie about it too.
That's fine, but I really want to get from you. Like, you made a statement a month ago during Rempe Mania, which is basically Linsanity 2.0. Only it only lasted for like 2 weeks. What would you say you're feeling about him now? Because you made a statement that was straight up, Matt Rempe has changed the identity of the New York Rangers. No. You said change the identity of the New York Rangers. Do you still stand by that comment? And it's okay to not stand by your comment. I think
Yeah, I know.
you'll keep credibility if you at least admit when you're wrong.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, do you stand by that comment?
There's hills that I die on and hills that I'm willing to get off of. This is one that, while I don't think, I was extreme in saying that he changed the identity of the Rangers, but I still think
you even asked the head coach if he
no, I
thought
know.
that he changed the identity of this team.
Well, so here's what I will stand on, though. I still think he's shifted the energy of home games. Like, anytime now the Rangers are down, like the Rangers have been down quite a bit in the last few weeks. There's been 3 separate games where they've gone down 2-0. I think the other night against Pittsburgh, last week against the Flyers and Florida. All games the Rangers had to claw their way back in. And when there's no energy in the building in those games, the fans are chanting, "We want Rempe."
And
in
where
those
was
games,
Rempe during those games?
he was scratched. Oh no, I think
He was in the press box in a suit.
yeah, I think he was in the press box. But
so you're gonna wait, hold on. So let me just understand what you're saying,
what?
and then you can keep going.
Yeah.
You're going to attribute those comebacks to the energy for him being in the stands in a suit?
What do you mean? They came back without him.
So I'm saying
No. I'm just saying.
You're saying they're playing
no.
a lifeless hockey game.
Yeah.
Okay, they're down a couple of goals. Fans are chanting, "We want Rempe," and you think that helped them claw back?
No.
Games.
What helped them claw back in those games is their power play. They get a power play goal and then they're back in it, which I think they would have had the other night too. Kreider's goal gets called back, but Colby, you haven't been in the Garden for a Rempe game. Like, you haven't really.
Paul in the chat said Rempe future 100 points score.
but you haven't experienced it. I'm telling you that there is something different. Pizza Sports Guy talked about the Ottawa hill to die on. I've just never really experienced like one player shifting the energy in a building like he does. Especially in Madison Square Garden.
How many hockey games have you been to in your life? You've really never seen that with like a star player? I mean,
not like this.
When Shesterkin's been standing on his head, or you don't remember back to the cup run that the Rangers had, and
not one particular player. Like, this guy steps on the ice and the building, there's noise. It's crazy. I've really never experienced anything like it. It's never
really that loud because it's such a business crowd anyway. It's mostly suits and their corporate.
I don't know, man. That Florida game 2 weeks ago, it was fucking loud. That felt like a playoff game. When Panarin scored that goal to tie it up, it was loud.
I just wish you could kind of hear yourself right now talking about how
I do hear myself.
A guy from the press box in his suit is shifting the energy of a game that the New York Rangers, who have playing one of the teams that have just been consistently good, consistently good since they pulled themselves out of that funk a couple months ago now, okay, that have consistently been good since the trade deadline. We crushed Drury for inactivity, and it seems like he's on his way to the last laugh because this team has gelled and meshed with their new additions really well.
I don't think we crushed him.
And you're going to sit there. Everybody crushed him. You were devastated on deadline day that they didn't get Gensel and they didn't make bigger splashes.
Now you're just making shit up. No. I wanted Frank Vetrano. That was the only thing I was sad about, but you're just making shit up. I was not upset I said not disappointing, underwhelming. That was the conversation. I didn't say the deadline was disappointing. I said it was underwhelming. That's what I said about the deadline day, which is not like boo-hoo, the Rangers didn't do shit. They got better, but the teams around them also got better. But I think, so here's the conversation in the chat. Like, do you play Matt Rempe tonight? Like, it's clear what the Devils' motive is going to be. McDermott wants revenge on Rempe. Rempe elbowed Siegenthaler in the fucking head last time these two teams played. He's been ejected both times against the Devils. There's going to be a lot of extra shit in this game. If you're Peter Laviolette, do you sit Matt Rempe tonight?
Yeah, I wouldn't play him because you're inviting the circus. If he plays, there's a circus tonight. If he doesn't play, there's no circus because there's no dance partners for McDermott. And that's the only reason he's out there. So I wouldn't play him. But again, like, he's not a regular NHL player to me. He's a guy who comes in when, maybe there's someone that he needs to keep in check. And I don't think McDermott's the kind of guy who's going to run around if there's no Matt Rempe out there. So I just think
you don't think it puts the other players in harm without Rempe?
Not really, because if you really watch McDermott, like McDermott will fight, but he doesn't run around. He doesn't honestly, he doesn't play like Rempe does. Like Rempe runs around, he really does. So
Yeah.
look, I told you this when all this shit started. And I know Bobby DeRico is completely on my side on this one. Rempe's not playing in the playoffs. I know Craig is going to die on that hill with you, but the New York Rangers are not going to play Rempe in the playoffs. He can't, he can't play. He just
You don't think
can't.
he'll get one game? You don't think one game?
He might play a game.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just like, if you're trying to win in the playoffs, like you need depth scoring. You need your third and fourth line to be, spending more time grinding the other team down in the offensive zone, winning battles in the neutral zone. You don't want to be on your heels defending with your fourth line all game. That's just not a recipe for success. And, unfortunately, since this sort of insanity over this guy has died down, like that's what it looks like. It just does.
Looks like
I
what?
know.
Say that again?
I said since the insanity of Matt Rempe's little 2-week stint died, it's just like he you could put better players in your lineup. You just could.
Yeah, but there you also can't deny that it injected a lot of life in the team in a lull of the season. I think that's undeniable. Can you at least agree on that before we move on to the next topic here quick?
I mean, for a week or two, yeah, that's what it was. Literally, it was like 10 to 12 days of Matt Rempe, and like the season is 82 games and a lot of days. So like, what's the percentage of like what he injected life into? Like, it's pretty small. I'm not discounting it or discrediting it, but like, come on, let's call a spade here. Like, let's take our fan glasses off here and our Rangers jersey off here and look at this objectively.
But also
Johnny,
you have to.
There's no but.
No, I'm just going to sound so cheesy saying it, but you haven't
You're losing credibility with every 3 words that come out of your mouth right now.
It's hard to explain if you haven't been.
Well, you're on a talk show every morning, so learn how to explain it if you want to have
I've tried argument. And you don't fucking let me.
Right,
it's just
your explanation.
Being in the building for it and experiencing it, it would change your perspective. It would. I'm telling you, anyone who's been to the Garden during this whole Matt Rempe stint, when he's on the ice, there's a different feel about the whole
and
team.
You think the Rangers play better and will win more games with him on the ice?
I don't know if they play better in that span, but they certainly play with more energy and more life when he's there.
I love how Pizza Sports Guy just asked, what is Matt Rempe's B game? His whole life is a B game, Pizza Sports. Rocco, his he doesn't have an A game. He is a B game. Good for him though for figuring that out. But I don't know. And I see, who did I see? Tommy said Colby just disagrees to disagree. It's unreal.
No, that's not true.
That's not what I'm doing here. I'm not just disagreeing to disagree. This guy has played 11 games of 82
or 10-3, 10-3 with him.
So he's played 13 games and he's never played.
No,
10
they're 10-3 with him. I think they're 5-3-0 without him.
Okay, so how many?
So 21, I think.
No, Johnny, 5-3-0. If they're without him, that means 8. He didn't play in those games.
Oh shit, yeah. Oh my god.
Like what are we doing here, man? Has he ever played more than 10 minutes in a game?
No.
Okay, so just stop it. Okay,
all right, let's bring Jackie on because Jackie's here. Let's get her perspective. I
want to ask Jackie about the WWF. All right,
WWE.
WWE. I'm sorry.
Come on.
Jackie, I'm thinking back to when I was like in 8th grade, and my mom would have to literally call the phone company, give the credit card over the phone so we could have WrestleMania and like SmackDown on pay-per-view on our like little TVs with definitely not 4K. And my friend would literally come from down the street because like we would rotate like who rented it that week or whatever. It was like once a month they had the big events. So like I'm still kind of living in the WWF days of like Stone Cold and The Undertaker and all those guys. I know they're still coming around, but like my childhood was like, I loved hockey, but the only thing I loved as much as hockey was WWF as a kid. Like loved WWF.
Well, listen, man after my own heart, because same, bro, same. And I have to say, I'm not just saying this because I know I work for the company. I'm not just like pumping corporate tires here. Wrestling to me is as exciting as it was back in the Attitude Era. It's like wrestling is making a big comeback right now. The Rock obviously has a lot to do with that. But even before he came back, I mean, it was on the incline. It feels like the Attitude Era is back. And so every week on Monday Night Raw, like 11-year-old Jackie is just like, what's happening right now? Like, are we doing this? This is so fun. So yeah, hockey, WWE, when they come together, it's the best.
Was there ever anything cooler? I would be yelling at the TV when The Rock would be going side to side, getting ready for like the people's elbow, or Stone Cold would beat someone down and then he'd like smash beers and start like drowning himself. I would be yelling at the TV as like a 9-year-old kid. It was like playoff hockey. No
you
joke.
are like emotionally, you're so emotionally invested as a kid when you're watching WWE. Like it makes or breaks you. Like the amount of I don't know if this is good or not, but the amount of young kids that I see crying at wrestling shows was like, no, why is The Rock beating up Cody Rhodes? It's too much. But it's cinema, man. It's cinema. It's so great. I love it. And The Rock is back, and it's been really fun to cover. And hey, I was just joking with the TNT crew that Matt Rempe should maybe try his hand at WWE, see how that goes. He seems to command a crowd. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. The crowd loves him.
Perfect segue, Jackie, because we've been talking about this now for like 10 minutes. And I have admittedly told you I was never into the wrestling thing, but I'm going to try because I see your clips all the time. And I don't know if you guys remember this. The only like bit of wrestling I watched as a kid was the Celebrity Death Match, like the animated thing on MTV. You remember those?
Yeah,
those were so fucking funny. Those were so funny. That was like what I got out of it. But Jackie, to your point, Colby thinks Rempe doesn't.
Wait,
have
no, hold on.
Whoa.
I feel like Jackie has something to say about Celebrity Death Match.
All the time.
I want to hear it. I want to hear what she has to
say.
It
wasn't going to be about celebrity death matches. It was going to be that I have made an effort to get WWE superstars into hockey because I think that there are a lot of similarities in ways between hockey and WWE. So I've been getting some of the wrestlers into hockey. Maybe I got to get you into WWE, Johnny. Maybe that's the crossover content. You need to hang out with CM Punk, go to a wrestling event. You'll be hooked. I promise.
Yeah. I'll have to attend one for sure. So I won't knock it.
It's different live, just like hockey. It's better live. Like once you go to a live event, you're like, oh, I get it.
Fair enough. But speaking of tonight, we just talked. You're covering the Rangers Devils game for TNT in New York. I know you're going to Madison Square Garden in like 10 minutes, so we're not going to keep you too long. But this Matt Rempe thing, I mean, I've experienced it. I've been here. I've felt the building. Colby hasn't, so he's a fucking hater about it. Do you think Rempe actually has impacted this group and helps them have this life or helps them even win games? Or do you think it's all kind of a charade and it's just good entertainment for the fans? Because you know all about both, right? Like, you know how to entertain the fans and whatnot. So where do you separate it?
Sure. Well, politician Jackie would say, well, any player that's on the ice has some sort of impact. The question is it a positive impact or a negative impact, right? But I won't do that. I go back and forth with Rempe, but I'm going to say that he does positively influence the New York Rangers because I think that it would be silly to think that if a crowd is chanting someone's name or fully vocal because a certain player is on the ice or in the lineup or doing something, whether you agree with what he does or why he's there is besides the point. To me, if the crowd is giving you a reaction and you're another player on that team and the crowd is getting loud, you're going to feed off of that energy, even if it's not for you, right? If it's for your teammate. So I think there's that psychological impact there for those 6 minutes that he's on the ice or whatever. Even when he's not on the ice, sometimes they're chanting Rempe's
She's middling.
name.
She's middling right now.
So I do think that there is somewhat of an impact in that sense. I go back and forth in terms of the actual hockey game, what he brings and what he does. But the last time I covered the Rangers, they were playing the Islanders on a Sunday. I don't know, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. And listening to Peter Laviolette, I asked him off camera, do you think that he is an important player? Like, does he bring value to this team? And he's not going to sit there and say no. So I am aware that like he's not going to be like, yeah, he is brutal. I don't know why he's here. But I do think that he very genuinely and somewhat passionately, described Rempe as a player that he believes is an important piece, albeit in a small role, when the playoffs roll around, just over a 7-game series, and the ability to sort of wear down an opponent and be sort of an intimidating presence on the ice. Like, yeah, is he the guy that's going to go out there and be a game breaker and score, a game winner in the dying minutes of a playoff game? Well, no, he won't be on the ice. But I do think that he's someone that could be used effectively as just a presence, as just someone that you're going to be aware if he's out there, because he's massive and he can skate somehow and he can hit. So I do think that he does provide value, and it's all about how you use him as a tool in your, quote unquote toolbox. I want him to play. Like, I want him to be in the lineup in the playoffs. I do. I got to tell you, I do.
Okay, so
and I know people will hate me for that.
I have to applaud Jackie for taking both sides there.
But well, she said politician Jackie.
Yeah.
I did say I owned it.
She warned us on that. So let me ask you a question then, Jackie. And I can really appreciate the fact that every role on a hockey team is important, no matter how big or how small. As someone who black aced some very long playoff,
you were the reason the Bruins got it
in Boston, and was literally there to do hard practice reps as a penalty killer while Chara's just unloading slap shots. Again, like, everybody has to find a way to do something. You can't just take up space. So I really do appreciate what you're saying about him. But here's my question for you. If you're coaching the New York Rangers, right? And if you don't have a good playoff run this year, you're on the unemployment line this summer. Okay. Is he a guy that you're looking at as like, he's going to help me win playoff games? Like, opening night, is he in your playoff lineup?
I think it depends who the Rangers are playing. I absolutely do. I think if the Rangers are playing an opponent where Laviolette feels that they need somewhat of I think he can get a physical presence from other players on the Rangers. It's not like Rempe's the only guy on the Rangers that can hit someone. But I do think it depends on the matchup. It depends who you're playing, just like anything. And it depends on the series, right? Maybe Matt Rempe's not in your lineup game 1 opening round. But if a series gets intense, gets a little physical, things happen, injuries happen, maybe you throw him in there for a game, see what happens. Again, I think it's all about the way that you use him. And I think just having him as an option, especially over a long series, I think can be effective if you need it. Do you have to do it? No, but I do think that you will see Matt Rempe in the playoffs in a Rangers uniform taking shifts. I guarantee it. That's what I think. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't think he'll be in the lineup game 1, because that's a feel out game. If you can go out there and win it, and in a whatever, then you don't need him. But I think you could need him in games 3, 4, 5, depending on what happens.
I want to shift away a
little bit. That makes sense. Am I explaining that right?
Yeah.
Well, that's reasonable. I think that's a very reasonable approach to the situation. And the reason I've
been known as a reasonable gal. No one's ever said I'm unreasonable before.
Well, the reason I give Johnny a hard time about it is because it's like Linsanity 2.0 when Jeremy Lin with the Knicks had that 2 weeks of stardom. And I've never been in the building for it. I've seen it, and I loved it when it was going on. Like, I really did. But I just, Johnny made a comment to me on the show that was, he has changed the full identity of the New York Rangers.
Okay,
and I was like,
the word full there.
Yeah.
Okay. Delete the word full. He changed the identity of the New York Rangers.
He does though, doesn't he?
See, I don't agree with that, because this is a guy who only played 13 games, and the Rangers have been a top team in the league the entire season, and he only plays a few minutes a night. He averages just under 5-6 minutes of ice. So I'm like, how does he change? I think that's disrespectful to the rest of the team that's been contributing for 82 games, or have been a first place team basically the whole season.
What if you change the verbiage around that, and it's not, okay, he's changed the identity of the team, but he's added a layer to the onion that was not previously 100%. There. Right, like no disrespect to Jacob Trouba. Like Trouba is an intimidating presence.
Right?
Obviously, we have seen Trouba completely change playoff series in the past with one hit. Like I don't like that he kind of sometimes when people talk about Rempe gets lost. Like let's not forget about Jacob Trouba and what he brings in terms of like, I don't know, being aware of him on the ice. Because if you're not, like you could be out of a series. But I do think that Rempe does add a layer to Johnny's point that kind of changes the way you perceive the Rangers when he's in the lineup.
She's so good at just taking the sides. She really is. You're a pro.
She didn't
take. Should I run for office?
I don't
run for office.
I don't think she. I don't. Well, yes, you should.
100%,
you should run for office.
As much as I am like sitting on the fence and kind of dipping my toe into both sides of this, I will say I lean more towards like I like Rempe. I want to see him in a playoff game for the Rangers.
Well, he's entertained. There's entertainment factor there, and we're in the entertainment side of this. You know, we're all doing the entertainment side. I completely agree, Johnny. He adds a layer, but he did not change the identity.
That was the best way to put it.
That is a much better way to put it than, you know, because then you're not forgetting about Trouba, and you're not forgetting about 110-point Artemi Panarin, and you're not forgetting about, you know, their power play and Adam Fox is you know, Norris Trophy capabilities some nights, right?
And
like
you're just gonna disrespect Lafreniere.
Also, though, like this is really bad to say, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Like Rempe is a guy that you can throw into a really maybe intense physical series, and if he goes out there and hits someone and maybe like crosses the line and gets suspended, it's not really affecting the Rangers too much. But it's going to affect the player. It's going to affect the team or the player that he takes out for sure. So, like, if that was not that anyone would ever plan for that or premeditate that. However, if it were to happen and Rempe does something that gets him suspended in a playoff series, the Rangers are from a hockey standpoint are totally fine. But if a defenseman's taken out for the other team, like that's a problem. Oh my God, what's the dog's name?
That's Oliver, the golden retriever. He likes to make his presence.
Do you call him Ollie ever?
He has a lot of nicknames. It depends. It depends on his behavior. It depends on his nickname.
Sure. Okay. That I understand. That makes sense.
All right, Jackie, I want to throw you on the hot seat. I promised I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. But while we're on the topic of the Rangers, I want to shift away from Rempe, but I'm going to give you two guesses. I'm going to compare two different players in the Eastern Conference, both on playoff teams right now.
Okay.
I'll give you a guess, and then I want to, kind of compare the two and ask you a question about it. But
okay,
here's one player's playoff points: 10 goals, 37 assists, 47 points in 50 career playoff games. Here's the other: 16 goals, 30 assists, 46 points in 57 playoff games. So one is 46 points in 57 games, and the other is 47 points in 50 games. Any guess on who the two players might be?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Okay, so I'll just tell you, I wasn't going to actually sit here and make a guess.
I'm like 50 playoff games. Like, how many series is that? Like, yeah.
So you realize she doesn't just cover the Rangers.
I know.
She's not wearing
Don't worry,
a Rangers
I didn't think
jersey
she was going to get it
under her nice getup.
You said an Eastern Conference playoff team, right? There's 8 different teams that it could be. I don't know.
Okay,
just give it to me.
The two players have both played in 7 career postseasons. It's Mitch Marner and Artemi Panarin.
I was going to guess Mitch Marner. I swear.
I tried to work in, I know you're a Leafs style Rangers. I kind of led you there a bit, but.
So here's my question. Where is this going? What are we about to talk about?
Artemi Panarin and Mitch Marner have both flourished in the regular season. And when it comes to the postseason, they're counted on and the fans get on them when they don't deliver. Which one do you think has to have the better postseason, not only for their team this year? Because I think Panarin might be more important to the Rangers right now, but just for the overall fan base, which one do you think needs to perform more in the playoffs this year?
Mitch Marner.
Both are crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I don't disagree, but and maybe this is I am a Leaf fan, but I do think it's Mitch Marner. I just think both of them are in high pressure markets for sure. Both of them are going to get ripped to shreds if they don't perform and they have early exits in the postseason. But I just think it's Mitch Marner because I think Mitch Marner has in the Toronto market, and some of it is unwarranted, but some of it he's brought on himself. He's kind of become this player that's like, it's me against Toronto, right? Like it's me against the Toronto media, against the Toronto. Mm-hmm. He's always kind of become this like guy in the media, even with his injury, right? Like he's just like, oh, like it is what it is. Like you guys don't need to know. Like he speaks in a way that is very combative with the fan base in a way sometimes. And so I think because of that, his persona publicly is a little bit, I don't want to use the word softer, but like softer. And so I think that the reaction to him not producing the postseason will be louder and more vicious than it would be for Panarin. But I think both of them are going to feel the heat if they don't produce. But I'm going to say Mitch Marner, just because I think that the Leafs, they're perennial choke artists. They can't win in the postseason. They haven't won in 1,000 years. They were up 3-1 against Montreal. They couldn't beat Tampa. Like, their run has, in Mitch Marner's era, has been embarrassing in a lot of ways because of their regular season success. So, the New York Rangers have at least had a deep postseason run in recent memory, right? So, I'm going to say Marner.
It's also a situation with Marner where it's the entire city of Toronto. Yeah. I mean, it's like the NFL in Toronto.
Good point.
I mean, he's got every household in every neighborhood in probably the province of Ontario with a magnifying glass on the back of his jersey. And while the New York Rangers do have a phenomenal fan base, it is a big East Coast market, a lot of national TV, it's still New York City, okay? Taylor Swift is still performing right down the street potentially the next day, right? There's way more distraction in New York. And so I think there's no bigger microscope than Toronto. I don't think it's even close, to be honest. Yeah. And I don't know if I ever fully realized it until James Van Riemsdyk really was explaining it to me. He's a guy that I grew up with, Jackie, and I've super, super close with our entire lives. He's from an hour up the road. So we played hockey together quite a bit and then national team together, and we did all that fun stuff. So it's crazy what these guys deal with in Toronto. You can't walk down the street. In New York, Panarin can walk down the street and no one would have any idea who he was. Maybe one person.
I think you're discrediting New York a little bit.
I'm not shredding New York. I'm just saying.
No, discrediting.
I'm not discrediting New York. You can't. There's nothing to discredit. I'm just saying you're talking about NFL pressure versus NHL pressure, and those are massively different things.
But not.
Well, I also think, but Jackie, I think maybe it was a year or 2 years ago, I might ask you this question on the Rangers podcast that you came on, but there was a hypothetical conversation of trading 1-for-1 Panarin for Marner, and there was a no way in hell from Toronto fans. But I wonder if that maybe has shifted with the year Panarin is at. I know there's a difference in age and whatnot, but
it's interesting, right? Because I think a lot of the conversation around the Leafs when they get eliminated from the playoffs over the last few years has been are they going to trade a core piece? Are they going to trade a core piece? Are they going to trade a core piece? And they never really have, right? They've never gone down the road of trading a Marner, a Nylander, obviously not a Matthews. But that kind of becomes the conversation, and it's always been, we're sticking with these guys. We believe that they will eventually get it done. We believe they're good enough to take it home, right? But I often go back to losing to Montreal, the 3-1 series. Marner did not have a good series against Montreal that year. And I wonder if Mitch Marner is the type of player that would thrive more in a different environment in the postseason, because I do think that as much as Marner constantly tells us that he doesn't care what anyone thinks and he doesn't care, it's very clear that he is somebody that reads and watches what is being said about him, and it affects him. And I think, I'm not saying that as a criticism, I think Mitch Marner cares a lot. I almost think Mitch Marner cares maybe too much because of where he's from and because he's playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I believe that Marner might be the type of player, if they don't get it done this year, and to me, the Leafs, I just don't think that they're a Stanley Cup. I don't think they're capable of winning 16 games in 4 playoff rounds. That's just me. I hope I'm wrong. I hope to God I'm wrong. And you can throw this clip on the internet.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I It's hard, right? Because in the Toronto market, I have to really step back sometimes, because when you consume the media there, you can be convinced, right? Like you can be like, wait a second, are they like maybe they are a championship caliber team? I don't think that they are. So depending what happens in this postseason, like I just think Marner could thrive somewhere else, because I think that he not only feels the pressure, I think it affects him. I think that he cares too much. And I think if he goes somewhere where he doesn't actually not care about the logo on his sweater, but it doesn't mean so much to him personally, I think that maybe he would have a little bit more success when the pressure intensifies in the playoffs.
He could bring you back like a number one defenseman, you know, or really bolster your deep.
We don't need one of those, do we? It's just Toronto. Has Toronto been trying to figure out their back end? Has that been like a thing?
I think the job that Tree Living has done, trying to sort of patch, you know, big holes with Band-Aids, like I think he's done an okay job at that. Like I really do. I think with some of the little off the radar moves he made back there with Edmondson and Labushkin and those guys. And like, I think Jake McCabe has gotten pretty comfortable in a Leafs uniform. You kind of know what you're getting out of him, but you just look at the teams that are going to win the cup this year, or the teams that win the cup, like they go 6 deep on the back end. Like they just do. I mean, you rarely see a team winning a Stanley Cup anymore with holes in their back end. You just don't see it. And
you rarely see a team that gets to the final that hasn't dealt with injuries to key players on the back end. Yep. So not only do you have to get through all of that and match the opposition, you have to know that your defensemen are going to get banged up. They're going to get hurt. So do the Leafs have the talent back there, the skill level back there, and the depth back there to get through that? No, I don't think that they do. I don't think that they do. So.
All right, Jackie, I know Lobby Let's talking at 10:30. You got to get to MSG. So before you go, give us your MVP quick, and then we'll let you leave. And you can plug
Oh, my gosh, you're going to do that
plug
to
the
me.
Jackie Redmond show. You got a lot going on.
By the way, I used a clip of your Jackie Redmond show for my U18 team before Nationals. The interview you did an interview with Mark Messier.
Yes.
Somebody told me, hey, go watch this. There's a soundbite in this interview that is very applicable to like getting ready for Nationals and a playoff run. And it was the question you talked with him about winning in the playoffs and what it took and I clipped that. It was probably like 2 minutes. And I showed it to our U18 team before their big weekend. So great job with that one. Like you pulled real good stuff out of Messier in that interview on your show.
That actually, like, that would mean a lot to me in any situation, but in this one in particular, a ton, because like I didn't prep that interview. Like I literally went to NHL to do my show, and we did not have Messier booked, and he was there meeting, I think with Gary Bettman for something. He has like a million side projects. So one of his side projects, and I literally saw him in the hallway, and I was like, hey, what's up? And I was like, he's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I'm doing my show. Do you want to come on? Like kind of as a joke. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. What am I going to ask Mark fucking Messier right now? Like, it's like one of those things where you're like, this isn't just like a off the cuff interview. Like this is a one-on-one with Messier. And I know he's on TV and everything now, but still, like, you don't want to drop the ball in that situation. So that was like a 5-minute prep situation for Mark Messier. So thank you. I appreciate that. I hope the team loved it. Because he did. He's an inspiring guy, Messier, when he talks, when you get him talking about winning.
He's the ultimate winner.
What it takes, right?
He's the ultimate winner. I mean, I think that resonates with any person who plays the game of hockey, no matter what age they are.
You'll have to give me notes, Jackie, because I choked when I talked to Mess.
Oh, I doubt that.
Jackie, yes, he sure did. Go ahead, Johnny, real quick. Tell her what you
did.
I'll tell you quick. I went up to him at a bar at like 2 a.m. at All-Star Weekend, and I told him that I wrote that he was my hero in my 5th grade yearbook, and I was drunk, and it was really embarrassing.
What did he say?
He just said,
you don't remember.
Cool, man. Something I'll never live down for sure.
He's like, cool story, bro. You and like millions of others.
Yes. Skedaddle, buddy.
Choke job.
You asked me about MVP, and I tweeted about the MVP race last night just because it really bothers me when we talk about the Hart Trophy and the MVP race that if you even mention like, hey, this guy should be in the conversation, people automatically think that you're saying, well, Nathan McKinnon shouldn't win it, or so-and-so shouldn't win it. That's not it. It's just, why can't we talk about 6 or 7 different guys? It doesn't happen every year where we have the ability to make solid cases for that many people. Mm-hmm. Why can't we have those conversations without people just like jumping on you and being like, absolutely not? Because Artemi Panarin is having an MVP caliber season for the New York Rangers. I do believe that. Do I think that he's going to win? No. Would I vote for him to win? No. But can we acknowledge it? Is that okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, listen, points, but he's not going to win.
No, of course he's not going to win. But he's got like 40 more points than his next closest teammate or whatever it is. So, like, to me, what's that?
I feel like I cut you off like twice. No, I was just going to say, like, even like, all right, you might shit on me for this, but if Pittsburgh gets in the playoffs, like, is there a case for Crosby?
I think that's a valid question. I do think that's a valid question. No, Colby?
Colby's going to shit on that for sure.
Well, he's about to score 40 goals, which is matching what he scored as an 18-year-old. I mean, look, I'll never discredit or shit on anything Sidney Crosby. Like, that guy, he's a Mount Rushmore player. So his stuff should be weighted differently than others. But Jackie, I just look at Nate McKinnon and I look at the fact that this is a guy who's going to have 50 goals and a shitload of assists and score 130 points. I look at the other guys that are in that 130 point category right now, and I look at their splits of goals and assists. I just have a hard time thinking anybody else is going to win that award when this guy's going to get 50 and 80 or 50 and 85. Like, I just think that that's such a rare split for a guy. Like, McDavid's going to get 100 assists, but he doesn't have the goals. He's got 27 goals or 29 goals. Like, I just think that, like, the way we look at the award, it's hard for me to think McKinnon is not the clear favorite with that split that he's putting up and with how good he has made his team.
I will preface this by saying Nate Dogg would get my vote for the MVP. But I do think there are interesting conversations to be had because, yes, goals and assists and total points, like those things obviously matter. But I do think there is something to be said about the value in the context of the team that you're playing on. And what does that team look like if you're off of it? Now, obviously, the Colorado Avalanche look a lot different if Nathan McKinnon is not putting up those numbers this year. However, like, I do think that the Sidney Crosby question is interesting. I think the Austin Matthews question is interesting. I've talked to legit, like, people that I respect in hockey who are like, if he gets 70, he should win it. No questions asked. Forget everything else. What do you say to that?
I'm not against that. I'm not.
I go back and forth. I go back and forth on that one, and I'm a Leafs fan.
Yeah. 70 goals is ridiculous. I mean, that if he hits 70 goals, then he pops himself into that top 2 or 3 immediately conversation.
Oh, finalist for sure.
Yeah.
But does he get your vote? Or does Nate still get it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
70
I
goals
don't get a vote.
Sick,
I don't get a vote.
8 players have done that. 8. That's it. You get a vote in my world, Colby. You get a vote in my world. So I want to know where your vote goes.
I would have a hard time ignoring 70 goals as my number of the number one guy on my ballot, right? And I would have a very difficult time ignoring that because, like, that pace in today's hockey with how good goaltenders are, I mean, it's that's like the pace of a guy from the 70s when goaltenders didn't freaking have masks on. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. So, and I said that on Carlo Koliakovo's show probably a month and a half ago when we were talking about it. See, I nailed it.
You nailed the name. He always messes up Carlo's last name.
Oh, really?
Which is messed up because he's like one of the funniest guys on the radio and on Twitter. Like, he cracks me up. They had me in stitches laughing last night, him and Mark Mathot, on this ridiculous thread on social media. But Jackie,
God, I can't even imagine.
I'd probably have to have him number 1 if he hits 70. Like, I really would. And I don't have this like affinity to the Maple Leafs other than just the appreciation for the Toronto hockey market.
It'll be interesting if he hits it, and I think that he will. I guess we'll see. But if he hits 70, the debates that are going to happen for Nathan McKinnon and Austin Matthews are going to be, I hope that they're feisty. Like, this is where everyone in the media has to step up. And on all these shows, people need to like go to war over Matthews versus McKinnon.
Oh, we definitely will. We definitely will.
Yeah.
And I'll continue to back Panarin and all those too. I'll sneak him in there. But
wait. I want to hear your argument for Panarin.
The Rangers have been the #1 team in the NHL. If they win the President's Trophy, like I think if you elevate your team to that level, it makes your case that much.
But is he an MVP caliber player without Matt Rempe?
Not without Lafreniere, that's for fucking sure.
Listen, the numbers say that the Rangers win when Rempe's in the lineup, don't they? Does it?
Jackie, is Alexis Lafreniere going to be a 100-point player in the NHL?
I told her this was going to happen. I warned
her. So here's my thing with Lafreniere.
Be a politician. Yes or no? Be a politician.
I'm so going to be a politician.
Dancing around.
Here's the thing. I'm going to say no, but I think I would love to have a conversation with you guys as former players just about the way that Lafreniere came into the NHL. He's been in for, what is it? This is his fourth season. He's had three. This is his fourth year. Yeah. So he's had 3 coaches. He came in during the crazy pandemic friggin' half season, whatever. Like, his first NHL season started in January after 8 months of like, wear a mask, don't leave your house, and like whatever. I don't know where he lived during that time, but if he was in Canada, like, it was brute. It was awful. You couldn't do anything.
Outside.
So like, I just wonder, like, I would love to like
office in Canada, by the way. You need to fix
I would love to just know like the psychology on like a player like that with high expectations, top prospect going into a major market, but not having the normal introduction to the NHL, the normal lead. Like, I don't know.
Probably. No,
I mean, huge factor. But and then just all like the rotation of coaches and everything else. I don't know. It's interesting, but I'm going to say no right now.
All right.
Because I don't think we've seen enough from him to say that he'll be a 100-point player.
I have seen enough. But he has turned into.
You've seen enough.
I've seen enough.
I'm super happy that he's having the year that he's having. Because like I felt for him and Kako. I felt for both of them.
Mid 50-point guy this year. He's not afraid to go play between the hash marks, which I appreciate. He definitely has a 200-foot game, which I appreciate. But nothing about his game says like I'm an elite 100-point scorer. He may end up even being an all-star type of player, maybe. But I don't see traits that you see out of these guys that really are these 100-point elite level threats every time they touch the puck. I just don't see it.
What's he got? Like 20 something? How many goals? 25 goals?
26 maybe, I think.
Yeah, like if he can,
can't take away from him.
If he can be a consistent 30-goal scorer in the NHL, like that's awesome. That's great. Like be that. 30, you have a long career being that.
30 and 40, 30 and 50, even on a great season, but you just look at the players in the NHL who haven't got 100 points, and it's sometimes you're like,
Mitch Marner.
I can't believe it. Guys
sitting on 99 last year.
Hey, listen, he hasn't broke that plane, and that plane is hard to break. So
yeah, but he had 97 the year before, and he missed a couple games. Like Marner's 100.
Is that plane getting easier to break though? Like, do you feel like we're trending in a way where like it's getting it's never easy, so like it's hard to throw that word out there, but it feels like it's becoming more common again. If that makes sense. Also, like it was, and then it wasn't, and now it is.
But also, to your point, Johnny, you got to stay healthy. Part of being an elite player is staying healthy and like being there and being able to play every night, or, if you're not, you better have a lot of 5-point games. Like you better be able to do what McDavid does, where he just, scores 17 points in 4 games. Like, you gotta
find out whatever nutrition plan Phil Kessel's on. That guy never got hurt.
Oh, what about Obi with the Subway and the Cheetos lately?
What is that?
Well, last thing to your point.
Know what sub he gets?
No, we gotta find that out though.
That means the information I need to know.
That's your job. You gotta get that out of him, right? You gotta talk to Obi and find that out. But to your other point, Jackie, about more 100 points now, like think about how many 100-point scorers we see each year. 10 years ago, Jamie fucking Benn won the Hart, or I don't know if he actually won I think Carey Price won the Hart, but Jamie Benn won the
He won the
scoring
Art
race,
Ross.
87 points. 87 points. That led the league. That's insane compared to where we are today, you know? So listen, I know you have to go. I feel bad that we've kept you so long, but thank you so much. You're the best always. And we'll talk to you soon. Hopefully, good luck tonight, and push that Rempe and Lafreniere narrative. We need it.
All right, vote Jackie Redmond 2025. See ya.
Jackie. See ya.
Hold on. I want to address. Let me just address one comment in the chat from D. Ely about Jacob Slavin. He said, "I think
he's so underrated.
That a player like Jacob Slavin will not get some of these awards because he's amazing defensively." Let me just tell you what I think about him, D. Ely.
He's so underrated.
If I'm putting a team together, he's on my first pair of any team that I'm putting together. Like, he is a star for his team. He should be a top pair guy for the U.S. team when they put the Olympics together. And you can put him with a guy like Quinn Hughes, or you can put him with a guy like Adam Fox.
I was going to say Fox.
And I mean, imagine the D pairing with Slavin being your anchor and putting a star offensive guy. And here's the other thing. Slavin is not just a defensive defenseman. Slavin is a 200-foot defenseman. He might not be like as good as offensively as a Quinn Hughes or an Adam Fox, but he is a stud. So I'm with you. They should have a best defensive defenseman and a best offensive defenseman award in the NHL. I think that's something that a lot of people have been talking about, and I think we'll see that sooner than later. But I'm with you on Slavin. Like, I love that guy. I think he's so freaking good and so important to what he does. And you just wait and see when Team USA plays Team Canada, hopefully for a gold medal in the next Olympics, you know, fingers crossed we get that rematch. You just wait. Slavin's going to draw Connor McDavid every time he touches the ice, right? Or McKinnon, or you know, pick your poison with those guys. But like, there's a reason for that.
I really like that point you made, though, of there should be an award for, like, I guess, best defenseman and best defensive defenseman. I think every year the Norris has argued, right? Like, last year specifically, obviously, I think Carlson's minus 26. Like, are we taking that into account? Like, no. You know what I mean? So I think, to your point, Colby, I agree.
It's
like,
not
those
my
guys,
point. People have been talking about that.
Whatever. They need more recognition, though. Those guys need more recognition. Like, I think a guy, you know, in years past who hasn't had as good of a year too. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it. Actually, never mind, because you're gonna call me a kiss ass or whatever. But you know, those kind of guys deserve a little bit more recognition for.
All right. Well, look, we've had a long show today, so let's get into our preview and our Betway. I do want to start our preview today with our Betway bet of the day. I'm picking today. We didn't get any picks in the chat. So, you know, we do this every day. We make it a part of our preview. So make sure you get involved with Betway, with our bet of the day. Create a new account. We got the QR code on our screen right now. And if you create a new account through this, you'll get a $200 bonus on your first loss that you take on Betway. Look, we all take losses when we bet. That's obvious. I think that's why betting is so much fun and so big. So use this QR code, okay? Take the free $200 bonus. If you bet 500, you lose. They'll give you the 200 back immediately. You'll get it right away. So then you can continue to try to make your money back. I always say go big or go home. Swing for that parlay. Drop the whole 200 on a parlay, in my opinion. Try to win a couple thousand, right? Go big or go home. I know that's not everybody's way of betting. That's the way I like to do it. All right. So here's the reality, though. It's only available outside Ontario. Please be 19 years of age or older and always bet responsibly. I feel like one side of my mouth, I'm telling you to go big or go home. The other side of my mouth, I'm telling you, but do be responsible about it. I don't want it to be like Johnny, where I got to Venmo him some extra rent money.
That's never, ever happened.
Because he lost all of his bets.
Let's make that clear. That's never happened.
It's a joke, okay?
But if that day does come, I might need help.
We love our friends at Betway. They're our presenting sponsor. They're a big part of the show. They're a big part of why we're able to do what we're able to do. So get on there and make sure you take advantage of the great offers that they have. So as we get into our preview for the night, I'm taking Rangers money line for our Betway bet of the day.
A lot of juice.
Not a great number, but I think this is a win no doubt for the Rangers. The Devils absolutely shit the bed last night. It's a back-to-back. After getting your throat, kicked in by Sidney Crosby and company, now you've got to come back. You got to play the Rangers. It's at MSG, right?
At MSG, correct? Yeah.
You're at MSG. You're on the end of a back-to-back. Your season's over. Let's just call it like it is. Like I said, those young kids are worried about their trip to Ibiza or wherever else they're going, Greece at the end of the season in New Jersey. So jump in there with me. Hopefully we win. I know we don't always win on this show, especially when Vic is picking, but hopefully the Rangers will get us on the money line tonight. So, Johnny.
My best friend Henry just texted me. He's a big Devils fan. Now that we said the Rangers money line tonight, the Devils are a lock to win tonight. So shout out to Henry. He always watches the show. My best friend from my whole life, basically. But I have a couple of things in the chat that I want to address that I actually might need you to address, Colby. But first, I'll say Dragonfly Jones 93. He said, damn, no Western Conference love today. That wasn't on purpose. We wanted to talk a little Western Conference. We just, with Jackie, it got a little Eastern focus. She's doing the Eastern Conference game tonight. Sorry about the lack of Western Conference love today. But also, Colby, this one, because I can't speak to it, Howie Phelan said, okay, is Laz more AC or Screech from Saved by the Bell or a combo of both?
He might look a little like AC, but he's definitely Screech. I mean, I'd say undoubtedly.
Can you explain what these guys, who these people are? Because I don't really.
No, I think it will be better for you to go do some homework, watch an episode, and see why you're Screech.
Well, am I getting chirped or am I getting complimented? Because Screech
you're definitely getting chirped. I complimented you by saying you might look a little like AC Slater, but you definitely are more of the Screech of this crew. And there's no doubt about that. So what else
is AC Slater Mario Lopez?
That is who Mario Lopez is. Yes.
Oh, sick. Thanks, dude. Sick.
So go ahead. Hit me with more questions. Come on, run through them.
Well, that was really it.
Okay, so look at the game. How about the games tonight? There is a big game tonight.
Well, there's a couple.
The one I'm looking at is Tampa and Toronto.
You're not going to talk about Edmonton, Dallas too? It's a big game. I think it's a big game.
We're going to get there in order of start times. Okay.
Well, you just said there's one game, and I said there's more.
Well, I said there's one big game that I'm looking at. All right, because you know me, I don't make the late games all that often. So Tampa, Toronto, that's a big game tonight because you've got Tampa. They're creeping around. They're creeping around, catching up, closing a little bit of the gap in the division. In the division. And look, it's one of these 4-point spread types of games, and that's what you have right now with these interdivisional games. You see, Tampa Bay's got 89 points with 74 games. Toronto's ahead of them with 95 points. So 6 points, same amount of games. So this is a big game. This gets you to either 4 or it puts them completely out of reach, is basically what I take away from this game. So I'll have and this is a playoff matchup that we've seen a couple of times, and it's been really good, right? So both these teams have played well lately. I will have my eyes very, very heavily on this game tonight. I know you'll be at MSG, Johnny, so I'll definitely be dialed in.
I'm actually not at the game tonight. I'm going up to BC for something I guess we can talk about tomorrow, but I will not be at the Ranger game tonight.
Okay.
So I'll
So who's gonna tweet videos of the game that's happening that we can all watch on our cell phones anyway?
I don't know, man. I'll still get the clips out there, but I won't be at the game.
All right. Well, you don't watch the games anyway when you're there, so let's just call it.
No, I'm just head buried on Twitter responding to trolls. I don't watch any of the action. I just make it all up when I'm there. But I'm also excited for Edmonton, Dallas. I mean, Edmonton is quietly 5 points back of Vancouver with 2 games in hand for the division in the Pacific. Like Edmonton, it's up for grabs. And I personally, as much as I'd love to see Edmonton play Vegas in round 1, I don't want one of those teams to lose early. So and I do think I would pick Vegas over Vancouver in a 7-game series 10 out of 10 times if they meet.
You
in the
mean
first
Vegas
round.
over Edmonton?
No, Vegas over Vancouver.
Let's just play hypothetical. Well, not hypothetical. Let's say it finishes the way it is. Who's winning that first round series, Edmonton or Vegas?
Oh man, I'm saying Edmonton. I just think they've done it more consistently, through this second half of the year, and McDavid is just Edmonton could have won that series last year. They were right there in it. You know, but they just collapsed in that game 6. Like that, do you remember was it game 6 that was like the 10 p.m. start time on a Sunday night? Like they had the whole day and the day there was like an MLB baseball game on ESPN. They had to wait till after to air that game. And then there was like 3 goals in the first 3 minutes of the game. It was crazy. But then Marchessault had a hat trick and ended up winning it. But I'm taking Edmonton just to answer that question. Who are you taking?
Vegas.
You are?
Yeah, Vegas.
Well, I'm excited for our like playoff show when we go through each series.
I mean, you look at Vegas's decor in a 7-game series. You look at the goaltending in Vegas. I know Skinner has been pretty good. I watched Edmonton a lot I haven't seen a lot of Edmonton the last couple of weeks just because of the NCAA tournament. You know, I've been very focused on that, so I'm not up late watching Edmonton games, and they haven't been out east all that much as of late. But I think I'm taking Vegas in that series. I think if they end up finding each other in the first round, I think Jack Eichel will go to another level. Marchessault's got 40 plus. They're balanced scoring. They're gonna get Tomas Hertl eventually. I mean, Mantha's seeming to find his way in Vegas, getting used to Bruce Cassidy and his style. I just think they're a much deeper team in Vegas. Like I really do. And I think it'll be a great series, but I like Vegas.
So we have run a little bit late today. We have a lot of questions in the chat. I just want to ask. So we have Jin the Swede, Tommy Inacio. I don't want to answer these questions today, guys, because we run a little bit long. So we can save these for tomorrow. Colby and I can literally get to all the questions tomorrow on tomorrow's show. Colby, do you have any final thoughts before we kind of wrap it up today? There are some good ones, and I feel bad that we're not doing it right now, but we can save these for tomorrow if that's just cool. But any final thoughts you want to get out before we end up?
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat now. I see J-Rock is saying that he thinks that he disagrees with me when I'm 100% stuck on a strong position. Much more reasonable when he's closer to the middle. The Rempe hot take was tough to listen to.
I don't think it was a hot take.
I don't think the Rempe thing is a hot take. I also think that you're saying you think you disagree with me. So you're not even sure if you disagree with me. I mean, come on. If you want to debate, you got to take a side and have an opinion and then support your opinion as to why. When I talk about Matt Rempe, I have, it's not like I'm just throwing
cold hard facts
against the air. I'm talking about my opinion and what I see and how I feel, and then I'm supporting it with stats and numbers, and again, like
statement.
These are opinions. Like, you don't have to agree. Like, that's fine. Everybody gets to have we've lost that in our society where people can just agree to disagree. Like, you can have an opinion. I can have an opinion. There are opinions at the end of the day. Now, sure. Am I going to tell Johnny he's an idiot when he has an opinion? Of course I am. Does Johnny say the same thing to me? Yeah, he tries to when he can get the words in, but it's all good.
I say it over text.
It's okay. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to think I'm an idiot. I'm totally good with that. I mean, you're not the only one. Let me tell you.
Yeah, just do what everyone else does. Just talk shit behind their back.
No, I want it in the chat. I want the shit to be said right to me. I love it. Are you kidding me? I love it.
I was kidding. But let's wrap up today's show. We've gone very, very long today, but it was a really fun one. Big thanks to Jackie Redmond. Big thanks to everyone in the chat. Some good hockey on tonight. Another show coming tomorrow for you guys at 9 a.m. And save the questions because we'll get to a lot of them tomorrow. Hope everyone has a great day. We'll see you back at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.